Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I am your host. I am your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And we come to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Broadcast Network, iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, and many other platforms, affiliates, and broadcast networks around the world. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. To find the broadcast schedule for the X-Zone Broadcast Network, which comes to 24/7, 365, visit www.xzbn.net. And for the X-Zone TV channel, visit simultv.com. Before I get to my very special guest of this first hour, X-Zone Nation, Beatrice Marot, I learned some very sad news earlier today. A good friend of mine who's been on the show a number of times, Dan Valkos, I dubbed him Canada's most psychotic psychic going back, 25, 30 years ago. And then over the years, he proved to be the world's most psychotic psychic. He was a teacher. He taught parapsychology, paranormal courses, psychic phenomenon courses. And he had been in the paranormal since 1969. He was the former director of Paranormal Enlightenment Center out of Detroit and the chief investigator for the Association of Psychic Investigators. He also did a lot of regressive hypnosis work at the Center for UFO Studies. He was ranked number 2 psychic here in Canada and 51st in the world. He taught for over 25 years in colleges across Canada and the United States and has performed at over 1,800 colleges since 1989. Besides being on over 750 radio shows, TV shows in the media, he was also an author. But most of all, he was a good man. He was a good father, a great husband, and I learned earlier today from his wife, Jean, that Dan had passed away at the age of 67. We had been speaking to Dan about doing his own television show here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and Simul TV. It was going to be called Psychic to the Pets. And Dan had a love for animals that I had never seen before, and animals would just gravitate to him. So I'm in a bit of a downer mood tonight because I've lost my friend Dan, and a couple of weeks ago was Stanton Friedman. And I hope that they're looking down and saying, you know what? We're here because we did so much good in life. And I know for a fact each one of them did. And to Jean and the family and good friends of Dan Velkos around the world, he will truly be missed. And we were blessed to have Dan as part of our family, our friendship, our ring of associates. And he will be remembered with love and admiration. My good friend Dan Velkos passed away at the age of 67. Another good friend of ours is here with us tonight, Beatrice Marot, and Bea has been doing psychic work, I would say about 30 years. She is in Hollywood. And Bea, welcome back to the X-Zone. It's great having you with us, dear friend.
Thank you so much, Rob, and my condolences for the loss of your friend Dan. But, of course, you know as well as I that he's dancing in the light, and he's very much alive and well in the higher dimensions. And my heart always goes out to those that are left on earth to grieve their loss of their physical presence. But I've been doing this for 30 years, and I have such a deep connection with the spirit realm, so I know he's very happily reunited with those that have crossed over before him, and the party continues.
For those of you who have not had the pleasure of hearing you before here on the show, can you share with us a bit of your history, a bit of your bio? What was it that happened in your life, Bea, that started you on your quest?
Well, it started when I was very, very young. You know, I, at 13, was very disenchanted with planet Earth, and I didn't really want to be here. I had a lot of difficulties. My father was very difficult. And I actually tried to commit suicide. Obviously, it did not work. However, I did cross over to the spirit realm, and it's the reason that I do what I do. Because I was surrounded by these beautiful beings of light. They told me that I had to go back. I said, I don't want to go back. And they said, but you're on a mission. I said, I don't care. Send somebody else. And then, they convinced me, and they told me, your life's not going to be easy, Bea, because you need to understand the human condition and why there's so much pain and suffering and anger and depression, etc., and a lot of it has to do with betrayal, which I always felt very betrayed by people that were very close to me, as many people have on this earth. So, and then the very last thing they told me was, become a vegetarian, study astrology, don't ever see a doctor, and don't ever get a credit card. And that is advice that I follow to this day. I am now 58, will be 59 this year. And I didn't start reading until I was 30. And one of the reason I do Vedic Indian astrology, and in that system, all of your signs are 23 degrees before whatever you are in the Western system. I studied both, but I was drawn to Vedic astrology. And then It's been a long time since we spoke, and I've been working on my book for the last 20 years because it's literally being scripted from the other side.
Wow.
Because what I'm here to teach people about is how spirit guides work, what happens when we do crossover, how to connect with our loved ones in a very dynamic way. And one of the things they really love the most is when you see them and feel them and think of them in their light bodies, not dead. My friend in spirit, Tupac Shakur, calls being dead doing everything as divine. And I don't know if you remember this, but I have when I was 16 years old, I was watching the movie Taxi Driver in 1976, and when Robert De Niro came on the screen, I heard a voice say, "You're going to meet him when you're 35." And I did, and I actually read for Bob for 4 years. And the book that I've been writing for the last 20 years is called Movie Stars, Mobsters, Merlin, and Me. Merlin is an ancient druid that walked the earth during the time of the Emperor Nero. And when I read for Bob, the reason he wanted a reading from me, and again, I'm here to teach people how spirit guides work. Mm-hmm. And in 1989, I purchased the soundtrack of the movie Cinema Paradiso. In 1996, I was 35 years old. I met Bob at Robin Wright and Sean Penn's wedding. And when in July, I'm still 35 years old, he called and wanted to meet me. So as I was leaving to go to his hotel, I hear my spirit guide, Merlin, say, "B, bring the soundtrack of the movie Cinema Paradiso." I show up at his hotel.
Right.
He opens the door, and I said to him, "You know what I do for a living?" And my guides asked me to bring you this. It's my favorite soundtrack from my favorite Italian movie, Cinema Paradiso. And he goes, "Whoa, that's really weird." And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Because I just wrapped that movie today." Wow. And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, they're re-releasing it in English, and I'm the voice of Philippe Noiret. And that, my friend, is how a man like Robert De Niro wants to get a reading from me. And then I read for him for 4 years, mostly by leaving my hits on his voicemail. "Bob, you're going to get a script that's about a mobster that wants to transform himself, and it's a comedy, and you should produce it as well because it's going to make a lot of money." And that was Analyze This.
Right.
And then one by one, all of his dead friends started coming to me, starting with Lenny Bruce and John Belushi.
Oh, my God.
Now, here we are. This is to wrap up this story. Here we are in 2019, and I read for a woman just the day before yesterday. I have a Goddess Central on Facebook where I do 3-minute readings for free. And this woman, she said to me, she's 71. She was born in 47. She's like 70 years old. And she happened to mention at the end of she purchased an hour-long reading.
All right, we're going to have a cliffhanger here, B, because I have to take my first break here. And XO Nation, our guest this hour is the one and only Beatrice Marot, and her website is goddesscentral.com. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, tell me what you think, XO Nation. Who would you like to have on the show? What would you like us to talk about? Do we tick you off? Do we make you happy? Do we make you smile? Let me know, X-Zone at xzoneradiotv.com. B and I return after this break. Don't go away.
It's hard to listen to the news without realizing we're living in volatile, unprecedented times. Yet never has there been such an opportunity to transform the human condition. As old structures fail, where can we find the guidance to co-create a better way? Find Your Path Home is an ever-evolving, leading-edge information, education, and healing resource center designed to support and guide you on your path to unity and enlightenment. Based on sound principles employed by shamans worldwide, we provide techniques that can support you through the current transitions, offering online shamanic classes, international long-distance shamanic healing sessions, complimentary Mission Evolution radio episodes and Stairway to Heaven TV vignettes, seminars, retreats, and much more. All of this can be found on findyourpathhome.com.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me. simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Rob McConnell. Beatrice Marot is my special guest this hour. Before we get back to B, I'd just like to give you a couple of programming information here. We have a couple of new shows starting here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. First one is Imagine More Success with Cindy Hendrick and Thomas Hides, and they will also be on the Entrepreneur Channel and Business to Business Channel, as well as on the X Zone Broadcast Network. And then starting in 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing a show with Cal Korff. It's called Ufology or Ufology. And Cal and I will be discussing past, present, and sometimes even future UFO cases. How we're going to do that, you may say? Well, it's very simple. We're going to be bringing on psychics and mediums to help us see if there's something that they can add to the mix that would make the phenomenon more real, more plausible, or is it something else? And, of course, you can get your monthly edition of the X Chronicles newspaper with our compliments at www.xchroniclesnewspaper.com. B, before we went to the break, you were telling us about how you met Robert De Niro, how you used to read for him, the messages that you would send him. And then you started to tell us about a lady that you read for a couple of weeks ago. So can you continue, please?
Yes, so not a couple of weeks ago. Yesterday, I read for a woman, and after an hour, she mentioned, because the celebrities that are around me, and they're all Robert De Niro's dead friends, the comedians are John Belushi, Lenny Bruce, George Carlin, and Johnny Carson. There's the musicians are Tupac, Elvis, and John Lennon. Producers Marvin Worth, the John Huston, and Sam Peckinpah. And these, I know it sounds crazy, but when you hear the stories, which I'm going to be creating my own podcast to share these stories before I publish my book, because, and again, it's very important that my purpose on this earth is to show people and prove to people without a shadow of a doubt that life goes on and it's beautiful in the spirit realm. And once our karmic journey is complete, we go back to the light and we reconnect with all our loved ones. And so this woman, after an hour of reading for her yesterday, she mentioned to me that she was engaged in the 1970s to Sammy Shore, who was the proprietor of the Comedy Store, the most famous comedy club in the world, probably on Sunset Boulevard, that launched the careers of many, many, many comedians. And I said to her, you know, he just passed away. It came up on my news feed. And she said he did, and she did not know that he had just passed away. And so I Googled it, and he passed away on May 18th. And then when I checked our correspondence, she contacted me for a free 3-minute reading on Facebook on my Goddess Central page on May 18th. the day that he died.
Wow.
And so I wrote about it, and
yeah.
I said, you see, love never dies. So this was a woman that he deeply loved, that he was engaged to. It didn't work out. And the show that they did together was with Elvis Presley in the 70s, and Elvis has been around me for years and years and years. And I even read for his daughter at a party, and I said to her, are you doing some kind of Cirque du Soleil with your dad's songs? And she says, no. And I said, really? I'm seeing a Cirque du Soleil with your dad's songs. And she looks at her husband and, rolls her eyes in the air like, boy, this psychic really sucks.
Yeah.
And then by December, Priscilla Presley announced Viva Elvis in Las Vegas with Elvis's song, Cirque du Soleil.
My goodness.
So that's how accurate I am, because it's Elvis himself that is behind it. And that's what I teach people, is how spirit guides work. And even if you're not famous, Tupac Shakur, for example, came to a woman that I read for who was on her way to, I said to her, I see you moving. She goes, well, I'm going to prison for 2 years. And as soon as she said that, I see Tupac in my mind's eye.
Right.
And he says to me, she really likes me. And I said, do you like Tupac Shakur or something? And she goes, oh, my God, I love Tupac. I tattooed his face on my back when I was 16. And I said, well, guess what? Tupac's got your back in more ways than one. And he wants you to write while you're in prison. Oh, creative writing was my favorite class. And I said, well, Tupac was in prison, and he was a writer. And when you come out, I said, my guides are telling me that you're a good person. You just made some bad choices. But if you go into prison and you write, you're going to come out of prison as a writer. And and Tupac's going to help you from spirit. The same with Elvis. He came through when I was reading for a young man who's a singer-songwriter. And I said, whoa, I just saw an image of Elvis in my mind's eye. And he says, I was raised on Elvis, and I was Elvis for Halloween. And I said, well, Elvis wants you, he's telling me that you have a very morbid and morose attitude about life, and you're a total cynic. And he's like, yeah, I am. And I said, and he's telling me that you don't believe in God or Jesus or anything like that. He goes, no, I don't. And I said, well, I know this sounds crazy, but he's telling me that you should pray to Elvis. And he started singing a song, and the young man, I gave it to him, and he finished it, and it's called Rock and Roll Heaven. So this is the kind of things that you just, and they happen to me so often, this incredible synchronicity that, when you get to know me, and there's been times, but I know that you're very straight-laced when it comes to your show, and that this is a family show, but how Tupac Shakur and Johnny Carson actually came to me and stopped a show on Dick Clark Productions. Do you want to hear about this?
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to.
Okay, so this is a day in the life of B. I go to sleep, and Tupac Shakur and Johnny Carson appear in a dream, but they don't say anything. The next day, I get a call from Dick Clark Productions from an Israeli producer from Israel who has a very heavy Israeli accent. And he's the director of development at Dick Clark Productions. And he says, we heard that you channeled Tupac Shakur, and we're doing a show about Suge Knight, and we'd like you to audition. And I said, well, that sounds like fun. And so that night, I go to sleep, and Johnny Carson comes to me in a dream by himself. And he says, tell Dick that when he crosses over, his rap party is going to make his New Year's Rockin' Eve party look like an Amish wedding. So the next day I go to the audition. I tell them the joke. They all started laughing. And Asaf, the producer, says, I want to tell Dick Clark that joke. So I write it down for him. And the very next day, Dick Clark himself calls me. And he says, what does this all mean? And I said, it means that you have a lot of friends in spirit that love you very, very much. And it means that's a party I'd love to be invited to. And then we spoke, and there was a couple of little risque things that I'm going to keep, I'll leave it for people to read about because I know that this is a family show.
Yes, it is.
That came through. And then the next day, Asaf calls me and says, Dick Clark thought you were very entertaining. And I said, well, that's wonderful. However, I'm so sorry to tell you, but this show is never going to happen. He goes, what are you talking about? We already have it sold. I don't care what you think you have sold, but the fact is that Johnny Carson does not want the name of his good friend Dick Clark to be sullied at the very end of his legacy by someone as notorious as Suge Knight. Suge Knight is not Donny Osmond.
Yes.
And Tupac does not want his mama to have to look at Suge Knight on television because Suge Knight has some unfinished business with Tupac's mama. That was the name of the show, Unfinished Business. And then Asaf says, you're crazy. And I said, I'm so sorry, but I just heard Johnny Carson say that the only thing you're going to be developing is a rash because I'm about to irritate your ass off. And then a month later, Suge Knight was arrested, and the show never happened.
There you go.
And there you have it. And that's a day in the life of B.
Oh, my gosh. B, what about all these different TV mediums that people see, like the, what's her name, Long Island Medium, and, some of the other shows that are out there? I've known I've known you for years, and as I said to you in an email, you're my favorite psychic.
Thank you, Rob, and I appreciate that. And, well, there's television psychics, everything, there's no such thing as a reality show on television. It's all scripted. Yep. It's all for entertainment purposes. And the Long Island medium, she certainly is, quite a character. But it's the one that really got me that is the Hollywood medium, Tyler Henry. When I saw him, I immediately got the hit. This young man has been groomed by the industry because these psychics do make millions and millions of dollars for their networks. And young Tyler, when I saw him, and then I actually did his birth chart. And when I saw him, what I got was that he had a father figure, a mentor that took him under his wing, and he was groomed to be the young psychic that he is. Everybody that he reads for are part of the E! Entertainment Network or their sister network companies.
Right.
Anything and everything that he says you can find on Google, so he's, they're really good at Googling everything because I've only watched him a few times, but he's just this sweet little boy who looks, he's gay, which is fine. The guy that put him on the air, Jeff Old, looks like he could be his father. He's also a gay man.
Okay, stand by because we have to take a break here. Please stand by. We've got to take our break.
Okay.
Exo Nation B. Marot is our special guest. And check her out on Facebook, facebook.com/Goddess Central. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We'll be back after this news break at the bottom of the hour as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Eli Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God, And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
And welcome back, Exonation. Our guest this hour is Beatrice Marot. Her website is, check her out on Facebook, facebook.com/Goddess Central. Now, before we get back to Bea, I'd just like to let you know about some of the shows we have available. 724-365 on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. That's www.xzbn.net. We have Heart to Heart with Dan and Angela Clark. We have, Paranormal Stakeout with Larry Lawson. Calcorf's Kitchen, KKK, or Calcorf's Corner. Kitchen. I haven't had supper yet, so that's where that came from. Connecting with Coincidence with Dr. Bernie Beitman, M.D. Too Good to Be True with Justina and Peter Marsh. Let's see. We also have Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka. Know the Name with Sharon Lynn Wyeth. And they're just some of the shows we have available for you on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Visit the website, www.xzbn.net. B, you were telling us about this young TV psychic that you believe, or you know, was groomed by the industry for the industry.
Well, yes, he was, because at 16, his backstory is that he was thinking at 16 years old that he would either go into hospice care, which all 16-year-old boys do, and or he also hung out at this spiritual bookstore, and he, was groomed and helped by the psychics there. And everybody has intuitive ability, and I certainly don't want to disrespect this young man.
Right.
But here's the thing. You don't teach or you don't read for people when you're 16, 17 years old. I'm so sorry. You have to have life experience before you start reading for people. I didn't start until I was 30. And so what I did intuit was actually exactly what happened. His mother took him to a Hollywood talent show when he was 16 years old, and an elderly man, a very big PR man who has crossed over last year, took him under his wing, and he immediately was taken to a big producer's home. And then he, from that day, because like I said, millions and millions of dollars are made off these psychics for the network. So it's to their advantage. That's all they care about. So God bless Tyler Henry, but that is, his show is scripted, and anything that he says, you can Google it and find the same information. Now, I'm going to share very quickly why I don't do television shows.
Okay.
Because one day I get my friend in spirit, Lenny Bruce, the comedian, says to me, Google me and Lewis Black. And so I do, and Lewis Black had just done a tribute to Lenny Bruce for the 40th anniversary of his death. So this was 2006. And the very next day, I get a call from HBO that Lewis Black is doing a show called The Last Laugh and wants to interview me. I know Lewis Black is a skeptic. He doesn't believe in psychics at all. So they came over to my house. I didn't seek them out. And the very next day, and when I opened the door and I said, Louis, I know why you're here, and that's because you want to make fun of psychics. But the real reason you're here is because there's someone in spirit that wants to say thank you for something that you did for him, and that's Lenny Bruce. And that immediately shocked him. And he sat with me for an hour, and I told him a lot of my stories. And at the end of it, he said to me, this is the most interesting morning I've ever had, and you're the best interview I've ever done. And then when they edited the show, they cut it to about a minute and a half and made me look like a complete idiot.
Oh.
And that's why I don't do television.
You see, and that's...
Whenever I do anything, it's someone like you that I trust, that I know won't edit things.
Yep.
Because even Lenny Bruce said this, every edit is a lie. You can totally change things by, taking things out of context, etc. And all psychic shows, all reality shows are edited and shift around and, for entertainment value.
Yeah. You
so
see, and
that's how I feel about that.
And that's why we do not edit the X Zone radio show, and we do not edit the X Zone TV show. Before you came on with us tonight, I told you that there's 4 segments. Each segment is 12 minutes. We have hard breaks. We do not edit because it is unfair, and in my opinion, it's very unscrupulous to do that.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very disappointed because if you saw that hour show, what we actually, he was literally gobsmacked. Like, he just was sitting there going, whoa. And then, so I've read for Kelly Carlin, George Carlin's daughter, at a party, the same party that I read for, what's her name? Now, here's a funny one. Now, I hope this is okay, but I get a call from The Daily Show, and this was years ago when Roseanne Barr had her own talk show.
Right.
And they said to me, we are interviewing on The Daily Show Jackie Stallone, who claims to be a rumpologist who reads the lines off your ass and tells the future. And I said, oh, and did you want me to do the rebuttal? And he goes, yeah. And I said, well, this gives a whole new meaning to the words, it's the eye of the tiger.
It does.
And then I said, maybe she should do a show called The Anal View.
Oh, my gosh.
And maybe Sylvester should do a movie called The Analyzer, Silent but Deadly. And then the guy says, you're really funny. And I said, well, you'd be funny, too, if you had John Belushi and Lenny Bruce telling you jokes all the time. He goes, you do? And I said, yes, I do. And I leave them on Robert De Niro's voicemail. And so then they were going to come, and I was so excited because I love The Daily Show, right? But unfortunately, it never happened because they were running late. However, next thing you know, I'm on the Roseanne Barr show on the phone. And I said, Lenny Bruce he wanted me to give you some ideas. And she says, oh, I love Lenny Bruce. And then I said, he wants you to get Jackie Stallone on the show. She goes, we're trying to get Jackie right now. And then everything that I said, she said, these are all things I'm trying to do right now. See, that's the difference between me and a lot of, television psychics that are scripted and groomed and it's all edited and so on, is that, she had no idea what I was going to say because I was on the phone. I wasn't even in the studio. So this is it, and it never stops. They constantly do things like that. So for me to have Sammy Shore, literally, he died on the 18th, and on the 6th of June, I'm reading for his fiancée from the 70s. Now, that's a beautiful thing because, of course, my friends, they call me a comedian. He's a medium and a comedian. She's a comedian.
That is you.
Yes, it is, and it makes it fun because even when people are really depressed, I get people that call me that have, they're murder, suicide, and I help them see things in a completely different light. And this might be a little bit more serious, but it's a very true story that may help people understand even, when someone that you love is murdered. May I share that story?
We've got
it's very short.
Okay, we've got about 3 minutes. Poignant. We've got about 3 minutes before I have to take our final break, so go ahead.
Okay. So a woman, I just posted that I was doing 3-minute readings for free on my Goddess Central page. And a woman called me, and I said, I feel like you lost someone you love. And she said, my daughter was murdered in October, a few months prior. And I said, well, I'm getting the man was caught right after he killed her. Yes, he was. And I'm getting he was going to kill a lot more girls. And she said, yes, he even told the police that. And then all of a sudden, I see this beautiful woman that literally is an angel with huge wings. And I said to her, you know, this is going to be very hard for you to wrap your head around, but your daughter was an angel on this earth. And the only reason she incarnated was to stop this man, and the reason she guided you to me is because she doesn't want you to see her as a victim. In other words, she was in spirit, and this man was already exhibiting signs of cruelty. She could see where that was going, so she incarnated to stop him. And then I said to her, I'm going to send you a story called The White Butterfly about a famous French singer who lost her daughter at 19. Then she writes me back, now I know that my daughter really did guide me to you because I have a friend who's a seer like you. And she kept telling me, my daughter keeps talking about the white butterfly and how much she loves the white butterfly story. And she keeps showing her an image of a white butterfly, and we didn't know what she was talking about.
Right.
And then I remembered, and then I sent your story to my friend, and she said that's the same picture of the same butterfly.
Truly amazing, Bea. Truly amazing.
Yeah. So that mother, instead of grieving for the rest of her life that her daughter was a victim of murder, she could see her daughter as a warrior angel of God who stopped a serial killer from killing a lot more innocent girls.
But let me ask you this, Bea. You know, you help so many people. I know you do.
Thank you.
Whether it is with love issues, with separation issues, grieving, whatever, Bea is always there to help. But what happens to Bea? Who helps Bea to unload, to unravel all this sorrow and all this, I don't want to say negativity, but misfortunes that others have?
Well, you know, sweetheart, I'm very blessed because I always say, you know, I love my dead friends because they've always got my back and they're very low maintenance. And they do, and they make me laugh, and they bring joy. I'm always happiest when I'm channeling for people, when I'm helping people, you know, see things from a different light.
Right.
The ancient Druids believed that true magic was the ability to change your perception at will. And that's what I'm able to help people do. I had a woman whose son was...
We're going to have to put a hold here because I do have to take my final break right now, Bea, so please stand by, dear. Exonation, Beatrice Marot is our special guest. If you'd like to find out more about Bea, visit her on Facebook, facebook.com/Goddess Central. And I'll be back with Bea as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. Don't go away. They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Eli Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
Christopher Fulton is a survivor of the national security state. All he wanted to do was preserve history when he acquired a Cartier watch from the estate of President Kennedy's personal secretary. But that simple act set off a terrible chain reaction. He was pursued by the U.S. Justice Department and the FBI, thrust into the middle of the U.S. government's Assassination Records Review Board, even monitored and pursued by the Russian government. All because that Cartier watch was the missing link of evidence, a timepiece worn by JFK that fateful day in Dallas, a link resulting in Christopher being incarcerated and attacked for 9 years because he opened a hidden chapter in history. The intriguing journey outlined fully in Christopher Fulton's memoir, The Inheritance, is available now through TrineDay.com or Amazon.com. The Inheritance, Poisoned Fruit of JFK's Assassination by Christopher and Michelle Fulton is a must-read, an incredible tale of how easily our own government can overrule justice. The Inheritance, Poisoned Fruit of JFK's Assassination.
Exonation, Beatrice Marot is our special guest on Facebook, facebook.com/Goddess Central. And some of B's celebrity clients include Robert De Niro, Robin White, Billy Zane, Michelle Rodriguez, Jesse Ventura, and even Arnold Schwarzenegger. Her upcoming book is entitled Movie Stars, Monsters, Merlin, and Me. The book explains in detail her unusual connection with the other side, and in particularly the ongoing communication she has had since 1996 with many celebrated souls, including John Belushi, Lenny Bruce, Elvis Presley, Tupac Shakur, John Lennon, John Huston, just to name a few. Now, to find out more about B, or if you'd like to get your own 3-minute reading, 3 minutes isn't going to be enough because this lady is always so spot on. Visit her Facebook page at facebook.com/Goddess Central. B, as always, time goes by so fast when you're with us. First of all, thank you for being on the show, and a bigger thank you for all the good that you do each and every day to help other people.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, when you were saying the celebrities, here's another perfect example of how Merlin and I work. So
Okay.
Merlin, I hear Merlin say, B, rent the movie Straw Dogs. I rent the movie, and it's a very violent movie, nothing I would ever watch myself, but it was directed by a man named Sam Peckinpah.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, what kind of name is that? Peckinpah. And I was walking around the house like a chicken going, Peckinpah, Peckinpah. And then the next day I'm doing readings at my friend's store in Malibu, and I never answer the phone, but I happened to be standing next to it. And it rang, so I answered, and it was a woman saying, I would like to schedule an appointment with one of the psychics there. I said, I'm one of the psychics here. Well, it's not for me. It's for my boss. Okay, what's his name? David Peckinpah.
Whoa.
And I said, any relation to Sam Peckinpah? Yeah, that's his uncle. And then that's how my spirit guides work. So there's always a confirmation that you cannot deny. Now, sadly, David did pass away in 2006. However, he when he came to me, I was able to help him. Now, the other about 3-minute readings, what the 3-minute readings are simply a message from Spirit. You don't ask me questions. I just see what I get. And very often, I've been doing this since 2012, and now I literally can see in Spirit, people line up. When I always say, down here I'm nobody, but up there I'm like Madonna. And they line up and say, she's doing the 3-minute readings. And one woman, I was supposed to read for her, but I was tired, so I said, I'm going to call you tomorrow. I call her, and she tells me, and I said, well, did you lose a child? And she said, yes, today's the birthday. Today is the birthday of my son, who died when he was 17. And I said, well, that's very interesting to me because your son wanted to make sure that you got this reading today, not yesterday. And that's why I didn't read for you yesterday. But why am I he's telling me that you feel guilty about something, like why do you feel guilty about his death? And she said, because I bought him his first car, and he went out with his friends in his car that I bought for him, and then he died, he drowned. And I said, but sweetheart, you buying him a car if that was his destiny to leave the earth that way, there's a saying in India that if it's not your time, 1,000 arrows cannot cause your death. But if it is your time, your death can be caused by a blade of grass. But what he's telling me is, number one, it wasn't your fault, and you shouldn't feel guilty. And number two, he's telling me, she said to me, he was my adopted son. And I said, but he's telling me that he felt like you were his mother. He had never thought of you as anything other than his true mother. And she said, he used to always say that to me. And I said, okay, well, he took his time to guide you to me on his birthday to tell you that it wasn't your fault. It was just his time. And then, he wants you to know that he loves you very much still and still sees you as his mother.
That's what I mean about you.
Those are the kind of things that can happen on a 3-minute reading.
But that's what I'm saying about you. You touch so many hearts in such a positive way so many times each and every day. Like, you are truly an angel.
Thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate that. I do try to be. I always say I'm a UFO. I'm the head of the CIA, and I suffer from ODD, which means I'm an unidentified French object. I'm the head of the Celestial Intelligence Angels, and I suffer from obsessive devotion disorder.
Wow. Hey, listen, Bea, do you have any messages for me from the other side?
Well, sweetheart, I'd love to do that when we're not, when I feel pressured. It's harder to focus, but I would love to do that any time. Absolutely. I'd love to give you a proper reading.
All right.
As a gift,
well,
my friend.
My great thank you so much. Bea, what are your final thoughts for the members of the X-Zone Nation out there listening to us?
My final thoughts are, my guides are always telling me, Bea, tell everybody it's the women and the children that are going to heal the planet and the men who support that vision. And we're seeing as a result of Donald Trump, for example, who was definitely destined to become our president because I saw his chart, I did his chart, and he went into his major Jupiter period in Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury, which is politics, on November 16th. He won the election on he went to the period on November 8th, he won the election on November 16th, within a 1 week of going into his major Jupiter period. Now he's in a sub-period of Saturn in the 12th house. Saturn rules foreign countries. 12th house rules foreign countries, prisons. He's in all kinds of trouble. He has Venus there as well. Venus rules the wife, which is why he likes women from foreign countries. And he's in deep poo-poo. But this was his destiny. This is why I'm a Vedic astrologer. It's about your karma. But as a result of him, we have more women in politics than ever before.
That's right.
We have children, that 16-year-old, with the climate change. I can't remember her name at the moment. But all these wonderful young people are coming together and to protect this earth, and that is the future. We have amazing souls that have come to this earth to heal Mother Earth because she's in a lot of pain. People need to understand, when I look at astrology, I see the planets as planetary beings. They used to be considered gods and goddesses. The 7 days of the week are named after the 7 major planets. They had great influence on us, and they still do. We just, because of religion, patriarchal religion, we have, fallen away from understanding how the universe communicates, which is in symbolism. So if you want to learn to connect with your loved ones, they will use the physical universe in order to let you know. Just keep talking to them telepathically, and they will answer you. They will find ways to let you know they're right there with you all the time. And the final thing is the other side is not 100 million miles away. It's right here. It just vibrates at a much higher frequency of light, and you need to meditate and go on the inner planes to connect with it. And that is my final message. And just know that apocalypse means lifting the veil, not the end of the world, just the end of the world as we know it.
You said earlier that, those who are on the other side have a totally different reality of what the other side is like compared to what so many of us on this side believe the hereafter is. In a couple of minutes, can you give us a description of the hereafter based on those that you communicate with on the other side?
Well, that is a very easy thing to do, and my guides do have a great sense of humor. And they always have said to me, Dee, tell everybody the other side is just like here, except there's no anger and there's no fear. And you never die, you just stop paying taxes.
I love it. I love it. When is your book coming out?
No anger, no fear, no taxes.
Yeah.
We'd have heaven on earth just like that.
So when is your book coming out, Bea?
I've always felt since I was 13 that when I was 60, which will be in 2020, is when something major would happen in my life. And so it's still being written. Like I said, my book is being co-written by the other side, which is very unique. And so I'm going to share some of the stories I've shared today. I'm going to share more of them on a podcast I plan on doing in the next couple of months.
Right.
And then when to prepare for people and then just like my guides are literally in charge of the media. Media literally means mother goddess. The web is an ancient name of the goddess. And so through the media, and again, my guides are very funny, like all the biggest psychopaths on the planet have reincarnated. They're all actors, directors, producers, screenwriters, so they can fight as many wars as they want and nobody really gets hurt. And as I said to Robert De Niro once, you Romans may always get the last dime, but us Druids, we always get the last laugh.
Bea, the time has come when you and I must say so long. So thank you so much for being with us tonight. Vous aussi, mon cher ami. And Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about Beatrice Marot, visit her on Facebook at facebook.com/Goddess Central. Now, I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, we have 2 new shows coming up here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. We have Imagine More Success with Cindy Hendricks and Thomas Hades. And Cal Korff and I are doing a weekly show that is entitled Ufology or Ufology. For all the information on all our great programming on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net. I'll be back on the other side of this break as once again we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios right here in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away. If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie, natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide. They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.